In the name of the loving, liberating, and life-giving God, Amen. Today's lesson from Luke portrays two disciples on the road. The teacher and friend, the one they had hoped would redeem Israel, Jesus of Nazareth, was killed by a cruel death on a cross. The world they had hoped for had crumbled. They were overwhelmed by despair and hopelessness. They were confronted by a situation that was forcing them to let go of their dreams and return to business as usual, to life as they knew it before Jesus entered into their lives. Some women have mentioned that seeing some angels and an empty tomb, but they were rumors, only rumors. As Freddie Bickner said, there was nothing left to do that Easter morning but to get out of town. And where did they go? They were on the road to Emmaus, a place distant from a situation that had become unbearable. Our reading says that Emmaus is about 7 miles from Jerusalem, but the location of Emmaus is disputed. Historians and archaeologists can't find it. Nowhere else in the Bible, in the Gospel of Luke and the entire Bible, is this village mentioned. The way I see it, Emmaus is not so much a destination of a person's feet as it is a destination of the heart. It was no place in particular, really. It was a road to nowhere, walking with uncertainty and pain. Bickners suggests that Emmaus is that place we seek out when we want to escape life's disappointments and pains. Emmaus is wherever we do or wherever we go to try to forget a situation that had broken our hearts and made us question the meaning of life. That's where the two went to try to forget about Jesus and the seeming loss of his life. When the world around us seems to crumble and we start looking for a place to go, that's where we are in our road to Emmaus. Sometimes we're on that road to Emmaus. And this year, particularly, that road leads us to our own homes, a place where we seek refuge and where we could become weary or hopeless, burdened, or even cynical about life. Maybe at some point we find ourselves driving with no destination in mind, just on the road to somewhere, nowhere. Our minds stumbling, perhaps trying to make sense. Why COVID-19? Why we didn't catch it sooner? Why the misinformation, lack of, or late response? I could not stop thinking about Dr. King and the moments which he probably found himself in his own road to Emmaus. I recall the story of that late night when he was unable to sleep and he was exhausted, fearful, and on the edge because of life-threatening phone calls he and his family had received. He tells that night, he cried out to God, "I'm here taking a stand for what I believe is right, but now I'm afraid and without strength and courage. I am at the end of my powers. I have nothing left. I have come to the point where I can't face it alone." And in the quiet of his kitchen, in his house, Dr. King felt a revival of energy and inner peace. A voice from the depth of his being seemed to be saying to him, "Stand up for righteousness, stand up for truth, and God will be at your side forever." How often, at the seemingly bleakest moments of life, the unexpected happens and we feel restored. Hope and new life, new energy come rushing back to us. The challenge before us do not vanish, but we find courage to move forward despite them. Just as with the Emmaus Road disciples, we make a U-turn and find ourselves not just riding out the storms of life, but facing those storms with courage and conviction, because that's where Jesus finds us and helps us to discover our true destination and meaning. And that is precisely what we hear in today's gospel story. This story holds tremendous hope for us today, for it is on the road to nowhere that the risen Christ comes to us. It is a word of grace that God comes to us both in the ordinary places and experiences of our lives and in the places to which we retreat when life is too much for us, when we are in need and don't know where else to go. It strikes me that this story describes what we as a community of faith are called to be and to do for those of us and those in the world who find themselves on the road to nowhere. You and I are the church. The building is closed, but the church is open. The call to each one of us is to become the church where Emmaus Road often leads. A virtual presence, a voice on the phone, a message on social media. Any way we can let hope prevail by becoming companions to other travelers, because we have experienced the risen Christ in our own lives. When the world is crumbling around us and our hopes are crushed, and when we are struggling to find a place to go, may we recognize Christ, the one who is still our hope, so that our roads to nowhere can become roads to somewhere. Amen.